The biggest mistake you can make is judging a woman's character by how she treats you when things are perfect. Most men rely on high visibility metrics, the enthusiastic I love you texts, the public displays of affection, and the effortless chemistry during a weekend getaway. But these aren't markers of character, they are markers of a good mood. Character isn't a performance put on for an audience or a reward for a nice dinner. It is a person's default setting when there is zero incentive to be on. If you only evaluate her when the sun is shining, you are measuring the weather, the fleeting temporary conditions of the moment. To truly understand who she is, you must measure the climate, the long-term underlying patterns that remain constant regardless of the season. The danger for most men isn't a sudden explosive betrayal, it's being softened by a long period of comfort. When life is easy and your resources are flowing, almost anyone can play the part of a loving partner. This is what psychologists call impression management, the natural human drive to curate and polish our public image to get what we want. It's essentially a part-time acting job. If you want to see the truth, you have to look past the highlight reel and focus on the quiet, neutral spaces where there is no scoreboard and no one is watching. Character doesn't reveal itself in the grand romantic gesture. It reveals itself in the consistent mundane way she treats you when the show is over and the curtains have stayed closed. The psychological trap of a comfortable relationship is that it creates a false sense of security where affection is essentially free. When life is smooth, there is no cost to being kind, so it's easy for anyone to offer sweet words or gentle gestures. Many men fall into the trap of confusing relief with reliability. Relief is that intoxicating emotional high you feel when you think you finally found someone who gets you or treats you better than your ex did. It feels like a breakthrough, but in reality, it's often just a reaction to a lack of conflict. Reliability, on the other hand, is a boring, quiet, and repetitive pattern of behavior that stays the same whether life is perfect or falling apart. While chemistry tells you how much fun you're having on a Saturday night, character is the only thing that tells you how safe your future will be when the lights go out and the pressure turns up. To avoid being blindsided when the honeymoon phase ends, you have to change how you process information. You must stop confusing suspicion with discernment. Suspicion is an emotional reaction. It's fear frantically looking for a reason to be afraid, which often leads to toxic games and gotcha questions. Discernment is a logical process. It is quiet wisdom, simply collecting data over time to see if the pieces fit together. If you want to know the truth about a woman's character, you have to stop auditing her words, which are essentially just weather forecasts of how she wants to be perceived, and start auditing her patterns. Words can be rehearsed and polished to fit a moment, but a pattern is a historical record of who a person actually is. When the forecast says sunshine, but the record shows storms, always believe the record. The first silent test of a relationship is how she handles freedom when no one is watching. Most men mistake loyalty for a performance, something a woman puts on like an outfit when she's at a nice dinner or standing right next to you. But true loyalty isn't a costume, it's a code of conduct stitched into her soul. When a woman has total freedom, whether she's traveling for work, out with her friends, or just in her own digital quiet zone on her phone, that is when her true character emerges. For many, unmonitored moments act like an open bar for external validation. They treat their partner's absence as a hall pass to seek attention from other men because they think they won't get caught. You have to observe whether her loyalty is just public branding designed to protect her reputation or a private principle that she honors even in total silence. You can spot the difference by looking at her boundaries. Does she hold the same standards for herself when she is 1,000 miles away as she does when you are in the room? This isn't about being a detective or spying. It's about noticing if her online persona and her private reality are in alignment. Real integrity doesn't care about the risk of being caught or the fear of a fight. It depends entirely on whether she views your bond as something sacred that she is responsible for protecting. You have to realize that freedom and distance don't actually create betrayal. They simply remove the obstacles and provide the stage for her true character to walk out. If she is solid when the spotlight is off, she is solid everywhere. If not, the freedom has simply exposed a crack that was already there. To truly understand a person, you have to distinguish between loyalty that functions as an outfit and loyalty that functions as a code. An outfit is purely performative. It is something a person puts on to look the part when the lights are bright, when mutual friends are watching, or when they are trying to secure a specific benefit from you. Because an outfit is external, it is also conditional. It gets taken off the second they are back in the dressing room of their private life, or when the convenience of wearing it fades. If a woman's behavior, tone, or boundary shift depending on who is in the room, she isn't operating from a set of internal principles. She is operating from context. She is simply adjusting her mask to match the environment. You can spot this outfit mentality through the social chameleon tell. Pay close attention to how she treats people who have zero power over her, such as waitstaff, retail workers, or subordinates. If she is an angel to you but dismissive or cruel to them, you aren't seeing her true character, you're seeing her sales pitch. A woman who lives by a code, however, doesn't need to be policed, tracked, or reminded of her obligations because her integrity is stitched into her identity. Her behavior remains identical, whether she is standing in a crowded room or sitting alone in the dark, because her standard is set by her own values, not by who is watching. When you find this kind of alignment, the constant need for reassurance disappears. You no longer have to wonder what's happening when you aren't there because you aren't trusting a performance. You're trusting a person whose code is permanent. The second silent test is perhaps the most revealing because it occurs when the dynamic of the relationship shifts from need to choice. Most men feel a deep sense of purpose and value when they are in a position to provide, whether they are serving as a woman's emotional anchor, her financial safety net, or her primary problem solver. It feels good to be the one she leans on, and it's easy to mistake her gratitude for genuine love. However, the truest reflection of a person's soul isn't how they treat you when you are their lifeline. It is how they treat you the moment they no longer need you to survive. When she achieves her own independence, whether that's finding emotional stability, landing a high-paying job, or building a new social circle, the utility you provided is gone. If her kindness, respect, and patience were simply a payment for the resources you offered, those qualities will evaporate the moment she finds her own footing. This shift often reveals what is known as the graduation effect, where a partner is treated like a bridge used to cross from one difficult stage of life to a better one. Once the crossing is complete, the bridge is no longer necessary, and it is often abandoned or ignored. If you notice that she has become dismissive, cold, or acts inconvenienced by your presence now that she is stable, it is a harsh but necessary realization. You weren't actually loved for your essence, you were leveraged for your utility. True character is demonstrated by the woman who remains consistent and respectful, even when she has outgrown her dependence on you. When a woman stays by your side and maintains her warmth because she wants to be there rather than because she has to be there, you are seeing a relationship built on values rather than a transaction built on necessity. Don't ignore the silence that follows once her needs are met. That silence is telling you everything you need to know about your future. The true test of a relationship happens during the transition from being needed to being chosen. This shift often reveals what is known as the graduation effect, a psychological pattern where one person uses a partner as a bridge to cross from a difficult stage of life to a more successful one. Whether you were the emotional support during her degree, the financial safety net while she was unemployed, or the social anchor when she was lonely, you served a specific utility. The danger arises when she reaches the other side of that bridge. The moment she lands the high-paying job, gains her confidence, or expands her social circle. If her affection was tied to what you could do for her rather than who you are, the bridge is no longer required, and her behavior will shift from warmth to indifference or even irritation. A woman of high character, however, does not rewrite the history of your support just because she has outgrown her dependence on it. She doesn't turn cold or treat you as an inconvenience once she is stable. Instead, she remains consistent because her respect for you is rooted in her own internal values, not in your external resources. You have to realize that while benefits like money, status, or emotional labor can buy temporary affection, only shared values can sustain long-term respect. The gold standard is the woman who still honors the bond and treats you with the same dignity when there is absolutely nothing left for her to gain. When her presence in your life becomes a deliberate choice rather than a survival necessity, you finally see the truth of her soul. The hardest part of realizing these truths isn't identifying the red flags, it's overcoming the sunk cost fallacy. This is a powerful psychological trap where you continue to stay in a failing relationship simply because you have already spent so much years of your life, thousands of dollars, or massive amounts of emotional energy. Your brain tries to protect you from the pain of a loss by convincing you that if you just hold on a little longer, you can somehow recover the value of your investment. You tell yourself, we have too much history to walk away now, or I've put too much work into this to let it go. But you have to realize that in the world of relationships, history does not equal health. Investing more time into a person without character is like pouring water into a bucket with no bottom. No matter how much you give, the result will always be empty. You cannot buy character or loyalty with more time, and you cannot bargain someone into valuing you for who you are if they only ever valued what you could do for them. Every month you spend trying to fix or convince someone who only sees your utility is a month you are stealing from your own future and from the woman who would have valued your essence from day one. Breaking the sunk cost fallacy requires the brutal honesty to admit that while the time you spent is gone, your future is still yours to save. Clarity in these moments is incredibly painful, but it is also merciful. It is 1,000 times better to lose 5 years of an illusion than to lose 50 years of your life to a partner who was never truly there. Walking away isn't failing, it's refusing to let a bad past dictate a miserable future. The ultimate goal of this channel is to build a community of high discernment men who operate from a place of strength and clarity rather than fear or confusion. This mission isn't about playing manipulative games, setting loyalty traps, or living in a constant state of paranoia. Those behaviors come from insecurity, and insecurity is the opposite of power. Instead, we are here to master the quiet art of observation so we can protect our mental peace and the legacies we are building. You don't need to create drama to find the truth. You simply need to see the world through clear lenses and accept what the evidence tells you. If a woman passes these silent tests of character, treat her with the high level of respect and devotion that a rare gift deserves. But if she fails, you must have the self-respect to walk away with your dignity intact, knowing that you cannot build a solid future on a hollow foundation. I want this to be a space where we learn from each other's experiences. So I have a specific question for you. Tell me about the moment you realized her needs had been met and the mask finally started to slip. How did you handle that realization, and what did it teach you about your own boundaries? Drop your story in the comments below so other men can learn from your perspective. If this message gave you the clarity you needed today, hit the subscribe button to join the mission and share this video with a friend who might be struggling to see the climate of his relationship because he's too distracted by the temporary weather. Always remember that your awareness is your shield and your wisdom is your weapon. Use both and you will never have to settle for an illusion.